Hey, I wanted to let you know real quick that I'm reopening my Let's Play channel. Come hang out with me all week long over at Friday Night Arcade Plays, where I'll be playing some old and new stuff. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you there at Friday Night Arcade Plays. Deja Vu was the first game in the McVenture series, initially released in various computer formats in 1985, although it wasn't ported over to the Nintendo Entertainment System until 1990. It technically came out after Shadowgate for the NES. These games were developed by ICOM Simulations and released on the NES by Kimco. I go into a little bit more detail about the overall McVenture series in my Shadowgate review, so for now, let's just stick to Deja Vu. Although the story is not at all related to Shadowgate, the interface is all pretty much the same. You've got your commands on the bottom, inventory on the upper right, and a first-person perspective of what your character is seeing on the upper left. You point and click with the cursor, which acts like a mouse pointer, and you can interact with the environment with these basic commands. It's too bad there wasn't some sort of mouse peripheral for the original Nintendo, because that would have been handy. But to be honest, back in the day when I was a little kid playing these McVenture games on the NES for the first time, I didn't know any better, so it never really bothered me. This time, instead of a heroic quest through a mysterious old castle like in Shadowgate, you plunge yourself into the seedy criminal underbelly of 1941 Chicago. The story is a murder whodunit with all sorts of film noir elements. You wake up in the bathroom stall of a bar with a terrible headache and blood all over your hands. You have no idea how you got there, and in fact, you have no memory of who you are at all. Sounds pretty much like college, right? You've also got a mysterious puncture wound on your arm, and not to say too much else about the story, but it's heavily implied that you've been framed for some sort of murder. You go around exploring your surroundings, looking for clues to your identity as well as trying to figure out what exactly happened, and trying to clear your name with the cops. So basically you just wander around the streets of Chicago, searching for clues, shuffling through drawers, files, and notes, finding keys and evidence, trying to figure out exactly what happened. I always love playing these kind of games, and it's just a nice chill experience solving the puzzles and immersing yourself in the story. Looking back at this game now, it's pretty wild to think I played this when I was like 10, and on the Nintendo for that matter. It all lends itself to the gritty detective storyline, but there are some crazy adult themes here. Your character has blood all over his hands when he first wakes up, you immediately find a gun, a mugger points a gun at you and flat out murders you if you don't defend yourself. Some crazy woman also murders you with a gun on the street if you're not careful. At one point you walk into a gun shop and buy guns and ammo, and the shop owner has a beer belly. There's car bombs and you can get blown up. When you're exploring someone's penthouse suite, there's a picture of a nude woman on the wall. You find a random dead body in this guy's office. It's violent too. Oftentimes the solution involves punching people. Technically your character was a former boxer, so for once in these games, using the hit command actually does something. You're just going around cold cocking muggers, drunk hobos, and hookers right in the face. Some snooty butler giving you a hard time? In the face, buddy! And after that, you can hit the slot machines at the casino. Every 10-year-old kid's idea of fun, right? The descriptions in the game are in no way meant for kids either. Sometimes they're kinda hilarious, but sometimes they're pretty graphic. It's a 38 special. Go ahead and make your day. It's a man who appears to be lacking something, namely, life. There are 3 bullet holes in him. A shotgun blast from under the counter has just turned you into shreds. You're on the fire escape. When there's a fire, you can use it to escape. Nice tip. Now to be fair, this game was originally made on computer and meant for a more mature audience. A lot of the stuff got censored, like in the office with the dead body. In the computer version, there's actual visible blood. There's some other stuff too. When you're in the bar, you can take a shot of booze right off the counter, although in the NES version, it's just seltzer. At one point, you have to put medicine in a capsule to consume it, although in the computer version, it was actually a drug syringe. Weirdly enough, it still mentions having a puncture wound on your arm though, so I guess they forgot to edit that part out. In the NES version, you don't find out much about the murderous woman in the street, but in the computer version, it flat out says she's a hooker who just got out of prison, and when you punch her, it makes a pun about her getting right hooked. That's awesome. Even the box art got changed. The NES version just has the hero in a trench coat, but check out the original box art for the computer version. Look at all this stuff. There's poker chips and playing cards, a gun, a crumpled up pack of Lucky Strikes. No, really, that's an actual brand name pack of cigarettes. And on the back of the box, there's booze and drugs complete with a syringe. It's a wonder this game was allowed to be ported to the Nintendo at all. There's some other weird stuff going on in the game here too. What exactly was this chair used for? Why is there a heavyset woman tied up and gagged in the trunk of this Mercedes-Benz? Sometimes the game heckles you too, which is always fun. If you examine yourself, the game says, "You're doing a great job." keep trying. And when you die, it reads, odds were against you. It was only a matter of time before you reached the end. Thanks for that vote of confidence, guys. I always love these types of puzzle adventure games where it gives you a little bit of freedom to try stuff and just see what happens. These games all had a pretty liberal save feature, so you can just try stuff and mess around. Sometimes punching gets you out of a situation, but sometimes it backfires. Like if you punch the owner of the gun shop, he blows you away with a shotgun. You can just turn this wine spigot on or off. It doesn't do anything or get you further in the game, but hey, want to leave the taxi cab without paying? Give it a try and see what happens. You can even open up the lid on this toilet bowl if you really want to. You are relieved that you find nothing inside. Phew. I can understand if this type of thing isn't for everybody though. It can get a little bit tedious fumbling through your inventory, especially with the slow cursor that you have to control with the D-pad. For example here, you have to use the open command to open the desk drawer, then do another command to take the envelope inside. Then you have to toggle through your inventory, open the envelope, and use the take command again to remove the bill inside and physically add it to your inventory. Then you have to scroll back through your inventory and examine the bill to find out what it is. That's 5 different commands and a lot of fiddling with your inventory just to finally examine one clue, and this sort of thing happens all throughout the game. Now, to 10-year-old me, this sort of thing was awesome and I didn't care. I loved the immersion and also the feeling like I was playing a computer game right on my Nintendo console. But I could see how someone picking up this game for the first time today, in the modern era, may have some difficulty acclimating to this sort of playstyle. Musically, I enjoyed most of the tracks. They're not bad and definitely set the mood of the game. There's one that even sounds like it could have been straight from Castle Shadowgate. Overall, it's not bad, just maybe not as memorable as some of those iconic themes from Shadowgate. From a graphic standpoint, could be better, could be worse. You didn't really need spectacular graphics for a game like this, and you have to remember in the late 80s we weren't nearly as spoiled as we are today. All in all, I enjoyed this game a lot, both as a kid and now, but I understand if this isn't for everybody. These McVenture games are an acquired taste. You either love them or you hate them. Personally, I could have played through a new one every year if they would have made them. The interesting adult-themed storyline and relaxed playstyle, as well as the freedom to explore at your own pace, is just awesome to me. They did also make a McVenture sequel specifically to Deja Vu called Lost in Las Vegas, which I've not actually played yet. That one wasn't ported to the NES, although they did eventually release it as a combo pack for the Game Boy Advance. What do you think? Did you enjoy games from the McVenture series growing up, either on computer or on the NES? What are some games similar to this, but not necessarily part of the McVenture series that you remember playing? Did you have one in particular that was your favorite? I think for me my favorite is still Shadowgate, but I enjoyed all of these games a great deal, and the puzzles in Deja Vu make just enough sense to where it can be solved without a walkthrough if you're willing to put in the time. If you've never played it, give it a shot sometime and see what you think. Thank you for watching, and see you next time on Friday Night Arcade.